There are days when the world moves and you don't. Others around you grow, evolve, create, thrive, while you stand still, watching life through the window as if you're an observer in a film you weren't invited to act in. Deep down, you know you've had chances. Doors opened, invitations arrived, intuitions whispered, but for reasons you can't fully grasp, you didn't say yes. You didn't enter. Now, everything feels distant, harder, quieter. This pain doesn't scream, it whispers. It weighs on your chest, whispering, it was supposed to turn out differently. And maybe it was, but not because of bad luck, not because fate forgot you, not because life forgot you, but because something inside you was trained to doubt, to hesitate, to wait for someone to say, now it's safe. Something taught you to keep the curtains closed, even when living in a house full of windows. Napoleon Hill spoke of this collective hypnosis, a mental state where most people are numbed by indecision and fear. They don't miss opportunities because luck failed them. They miss them because they can't recognize the moment, because they were taught to distrust anything that demands immediate courage. And so life passes, like a river flowing past closed eyes. Neville Goddard reveals a deeper truth. Opportunity doesn't appear outside. You only recognize it when your consciousness shifts. When something inside you decides to see differently, vibrate differently, act differently. Without that inner transformation, you may stand before the chance of a lifetime and not see it, because your mind still runs on old filters, old fears, the conditioning that taught you to look and not see. This training is invisible, but it's real. In the fear of failing, in the worry about judgment, in not trusting that you're enough, in seeking external validation too exhaustively. Each layer forms a veil covering the windows of your soul, and even when the sun is shining outside, you feel like it's still night. But what if it's not? What if the light was always there, waiting for you to open the curtains? What if what's blocking you isn't the absence of opportunity, but the presence of conditioning that taught you not to see it? This question can change everything, because it returns your power. The key you may have forgotten was always in your hand. From a very young age, we're taught to see life through vigilant eyes, to spot error before beauty, to predict disaster before possibility, to protect ourselves before trusting. Repeated year after year, this way of seeing transforms perception. Gradually, we stop seeing the world as it is and start seeing it as we were taught to. For many, that means always being alert to what can go wrong, rather than open to what can bloom. Maybe you notice it in small details, like the inner voice saying, better not try. The anxiety that arises at the thought of change, the eyes that, faced with the new, first see risk, then, only if there's room left, see value. That pattern isn't natural, it was installed, repeated, cultivated by generations taught that surviving was more important than expanding, that keeping the little was safer than dreaming of more. It's like walking through a garden, yet only seeing the weeds. There are flowers, colors, fragrance in the air, but a perspective trained for danger sees only what can hurt, and the soul, sensing this pattern, goes silent. Potential means little if the perception system is programmed for fear. The universe may offer, but your vibration rejects before considering. This is the most common vibrational block and the most profound. Scarcity as a lens, doubt as a filter, fear as a reference. When this happens, opportunities don't vanish. They go unnoticed. They knock, but are not heard. They beckon, but remain unrecognized, because your inner frequency isn't yet tuned for their presence. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness, to see that what you've been calling prudence may simply be emotional protection, and though well-intentioned, that protection may be keeping you from the life your soul yearns to live. The world isn't closed to you, but you may still be vibrating from the training that taught you not to open. Recognizing that is a beginning, because only what is seen can change, and now you've begun seeing. There's a subtle yet deeply rooted belief that opportunity comes from outside, like luck, coincidence, or unexpected gift. We wait for it as an explicit invitation, a path already open, a safety assured. But that expectation keeps us stuck. While we wait for perfect conditions, opportunity can already be here, disguised as effort, challenge, or discomfort. Napoleon Hill taught that opportunity often dresses as hard work, difficulty, or crisis. It doesn't announce itself with lights and applause. It arrives in silence, requirement, and discomfort. Many don't recognize it, mistaking opportunity for obstacle. They believe the right path is always the easy one, and so they walk right past something that could have changed everything. This confusion stems from a limited view, a mind trained to seek visible, quick rewards that others approve of. But awakened consciousness sees differently. It understands that opportunity isn't in the situation, it's in the consciousness deciphering that situation's value. The same event that paralyzes one liberates another. It's not the experience that defines, it's the vibration chosen to experience it. Perhaps something in your story, a failure, a loss, a path that didn't go right, has been carried as weight, as scar, as bitter memory. But what if within that episode lies a hidden treasure, a skill born from that very pain, a clarity that emerged only because you endured that suffering, a calling heard only because the silence of failure forced you to listen? Revisiting the past with that new perspective doesn't change what happened, it changes what it means. Changing the meaning changes your vibration. Changing vibration changes how you perceive what's coming now, because opportunity seldom arrives labeled. It arrives as a covert invitation, an internal call, a subtle intuition. Only a consciousness trained in silence, tuned into subtlety, and practicing presence can say, that is for me. Even if, at first, it looked like just another stone on the path. Few pains are as subtle as realizing too late that an opportunity passed, not because it wasn't there, but because your mind was elsewhere, thinking about what's missing, envisioning a better future, trapped by the idea that now isn't enough. That addiction to projecting tomorrow creates a form of emotional blindness, a blind spot where what matters becomes invisible simply because it's not grand enough. A mind conditioned by fear and anxiety lives in the not yet here. In doing so, it ignores the soft signals of now, unexpected meetings, creative impulses, life's subtle invitations, all pass unnoticed because they don't match the idealized image anticipated. That dissonance between expectation and presence causes doors to shut before they're even noticed. Neuroscience shows that the brain, dominated by fear, literally filters reality. It prioritizes information, confirming danger, risk, error, and deletes from conscious awareness everything indicating growth, change, expansion. Not because those potential signs don't exist, but because they weren't authorized to enter perception. It's like being surrounded by paths and only seeing walls. How many times have you said, "I knew that was important, but I only realized it later"? How many times has a conversation, an idea, a chance passed, and only afterward did you understand something happened there? That's the cost of ignoring the present. It's not just what you miss, it's what you don't live. It's the richness that slips away, not for lack of worthiness, but for lack of attention. Now is always the meeting point between what you want and what you vibrate. Here in this quiet moment, opportunity knocks. But it doesn't knock loudly, it doesn't shout, it whispers, and only those present enough to listen can answer. Because the future you wait for is hidden in the choices you ignore today. And every time you're absent from now, you're absent from the life that's trying to find you. There is a kind of paralysis that wears social respectability. It calls itself prudence. But many times, it's just fear in a better outfit. Fear wearing logic. Insecurity and responsibilities mask. Hesitation pretending to be wisdom. And because this looks acceptable, it's seldom questioned. It's admired, reinforced, applauded. So we continue postponing. How many times have you found yourself saying, "It's not the right moment. I'll wait a bit more. I need to be sure." And how many of those times deep down, it wasn't caution, but fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not living up to your own intuition. So you hold back your desire, your inspiration, your action, life itself. The culture we grew up in encourages this. Since childhood we've heard, don't risk it, be careful, don't jump too quickly. Repeated so often, we learn to doubt our own creative impulses. We silenced the inner fire until only a hidden ember remained, alive but smothered. And as a result, many doors remained closed, not because we lost the key, but because we never used it. It's like walking your house with the key in your pocket, passing a locked door daily saying, one day it will open on its own. But it won't, because the door isn't the problem. The courage to use the key needs awakening. Real prudence isn't immobility, it's conscious movement. It's knowing the risks, feeling the fear, and still choosing to move forward. Self-sabotage isn't always abandoning a dream. Sometimes it's just waiting too long, waiting for everything to be perfect, waiting for fear to vanish, waiting for someone to say, now you can, but no one ever will. Only you know what lies locked within you, and only you can choose. Keep pretending the door is the problem, or finally put the key in the lock and turn it, even trembling, even uncertain, because true prudence knows when to wait and also when to stop waiting. The reality you perceive is not the same everyone else perceives. It's filtered, translated, distorted by your vibration. What you feel, what you believe, what you silently repeat, shapes what your eyes can see. That's why two people witnessing the same event can see completely different things. One sees threat, the other sees opportunity. One sees walls, the other sees doors. The world doesn't change. That lens inside you defines your focus. Napoleon Hill, aligned with quantum science, points out that a scarcity-focused mind doesn't just attract scarcity, it continually reinforces its belief. It unconsciously seeks what confirms there's no way out, no resources, no time. In doing so, it ignores signals, silences intuition, and avoids what might heal or transform. Your internal frequency becomes a filter, and only what matches it gets through. When that vibration shifts, your eyes change. And when your eyes change, the world reveals parts previously invisible. Not because the world was hiding them, it's because you weren't tuned in to see them. Opportunity isn't a miracle from nowhere. It's a possibility always there, waiting for your alignment to recognize it. One simple, powerful way to realign your frequency is to change the question you ask. Replace, "What if it goes wrong?" with, "What can I learn even if this doesn't work out?" That question is more than philosophical. It changes your vibration. It repositions your mind toward growth, not control. It transforms fear into curiosity, anxiety into openness. And that openness allows you to see what was passing beneath your radar. You don't need to force opportunities. You need to adjust your field. The music is playing, but only those who tune in hear it. Tuning starts from within, with the choice to vibrate differently, feel differently, ask differently, because that is what changes what appears, and more importantly, what you are able to see. The mind, like the body, learns through habit. It repeats what's reinforced, creates shortcuts to conserve energy. If you were conditioned for years to doubt, hesitate, focus on lack, it's natural that your perspective remains narrow, but that isn't forever. Once awakened, consciousness can teach new ways, plant new neural and spiritual pathways. Step 1 is acknowledging you no longer need to run on autopilot. Replacing automatic doubt with conscious action isn't about impulsivity or forcing grand gestures. It's about cultivating presence in everyday life, interrupting the mental loop of "this won't work" with a gentle yet powerful question: what choice here brings me closer to who I want to be? When asked often, this question begins to shift your mind's focus. Gradually, you become more open, attentive, receptive. Start with something small, a common situation, a simple task, a conversation, a minor discomfort. Ask yourself, what am I not seeing here? Or what opportunities for growth or connection are hidden in this moment? Identify at least two. They can be tiny, What matters isn't the size of the opportunity, it's training your mind to recognize it. This daily practice loosens old conditioning. It dissolves the fog of chronic doubt. It teaches you to create, rather than await, opportunity. Because ultimately, true opportunity is born inside. It's your internal posture that transforms the ordinary into possibility, the simple moment into a seed, the ordinary day into a portal. You don't need to wait anymore. You need better vision. And better vision comes from breaking old loops and planting new states. Because sight isn't just in the eyes, it's in vibration. And when vibration changes, the invisible becomes visible. With clarity, with direction, with truth. Picture someone tirelessly digging, day after day, chasing something precious. He believes there's gold there. He's followed clues. He holds faith. Yet exhaustion sets in. Doubt creeps in. Others call it a waste of time. So he quits, leaves. Unaware, he stopped just a few feet from the richest deposit. The gold was right there, but he only saw stones. Running away meant missing the treasure. That image, the blind miner, reflects many of us. People who give up not because value isn't there, but because clarity is lacking. On the verge of breakthrough, transformation, emergence, yet deceived by what seems rugged, heavy, exhausting. The problem isn't the ground, it's the mind, the meaning given to those stones. Opportunities rarely arrive gift-wrapped. They arrive as rough stones, heavy, grey. But for the trained eye, those stones are portals. What looks like another obstacle may hold transformation. A mistake may contain unexpected strength. What seems weight may be a diamond in disguise. The difference between finder and quitter isn't talent, nor luck, nor destiny. It's vision. The ability to see value even when the world hasn't confirmed it, to trust intuition amid chaos, to continue digging inward, even without applause, even without guarantees. Think of how many times you abandoned a pursuit because it didn't seem to work, only to realize today it was just one step too early. One more gesture, one more choice, one more moment. The opportunity didn't vanish, you just stopped seeing it, or were trained not to recognize it. That conditioning can be undone. You can learn to see again. You can reopen your soul's sight. You can silence the discouragement and return to excavation. Not out of blind insistence, but out of living trust. Because what you seek might be closer than you think. And the only difference between worthless stone and pure gold is the consciousness holding it. Have you ever had the sense that something valuable passed by and you only realized it later? That opportunity was there, but your sight wasn't yet ready. That's not failure, not incapacity. It's the reflection of conditioning they taught you. Because the truth is, no one teaches us to recognize the invisible, to hear the whisper before the shout, to see the portal before it's wide open. Napoleon Hill reminded us that wealth and success belong to those who learn to recognize opportunities before they become obvious. And that ability is not a gift, it's spiritual training, a state of listening, presence, sharpened perception, a tuning so intimate that even amid chaos, you see the thread of light. Even in pain, you recognize the seed of change. Dr. Bruce Lipton affirms this scientifically. Our beliefs shape our perception. They act as filters determining what we see, what we ignore, what we value, what we discard. Change the internal software, and you change your lens on reality. Change the lens, and everything transforms, because reality doesn't shift when something external arrives. It shifts when you begin to see what was already there, but your previous frequency wouldn't reveal. Here is the simple, revolutionary truth. You don't need to wait for life to deliver new opportunities. You need to become someone able to see them, to recognize them, to receive them. What matters isn't what arrives. It's what you perceive, what you interpret, what you value. And maybe it starts with a symbolic gesture, opening the curtains. Those ancient veils soaked in fear, doubt, exhaustion. Open one, then another. Let the light in, because deep down, it never went out. It was always there. You were just closing your eyes. Opportunity is like a radio station, always transmitting, with frequency, with constancy, with clarity. But only those tuning in hear the music. Only those dancing hear the melody. Only those believing they can move forward. And maybe now at this very moment is when you turn the dial of consciousness. Finally hear, finally see, finally choose, because opportunities were never distant, they were always waiting for you.